Hi, welcome to the Julie Rowe Show. Today is Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. Been an eventful day so far, right, Eric?
It's been an eventful day. There's so much energy. It's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, once again, I had trouble sleeping last night. You can imagine why.
Right. You and a couple others of our close friends have closely linked you with earthquakes and your physical health and
Eh,
your sleeping patterns, interestingly. Yeah.
right, yeah. Well, it's been interesting. So I woke up to the news. I was actually kind of awake in and out. Interestingly enough, the last thing I remember before I fell asleep last night was talking to the Lord about where we are in the plan again and going over some things with him and testing to see how clear I was on the visions I'm having related to the Wasatch earthquake, other earthquakes, precursor earthquakes to the Wasatch earthquake, the big earthquake, and of course coronavirus and everything. And you and I recorded on Tuesday, yesterday, for Eyes Open, the coronavirus. If you haven't seen that, we did that last week, and then we did the energy session yesterday and released that this morning. I think you sent it out an hour before the earthquake or something.
Yeah, right about the same time. Yeah. Interesting.
Mm. Yes, I love the orchestration. I woke up on Saturday morning with the direction from the Lord to record an energy session with Eric and was told to have it be released on Wednesday, the 18th. And Eric, being great like he always is, agreed to do that. And so it's been an eventful couple of days. I love the orchestration, Eric, because um, you know there's been a lot of quiet time in the last 6 years as far as public things that people have seen, but in my personal life I constantly have dreams and visions and revelation that come true,
Hmm.
and often I just don't share it with people. I've told you quite a bit of mine, but people generally don't understand that this is always unfolding for me. This is part of my normal. So to have it go so public like this and have the validation that we've been looking for, you know, my heart goes out to anybody suffering from any disease, especially coronavirus, but also this earthquake now that's happened. I want to make that very clear that I do not rejoice in the suffering of other people. In fact, when I really let myself think about it, I have shed thousands and thousands of tears over both uh, coronavirus, Ebola, other plagues coming, all the last day stuff, nightmares, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you guys what I've gone through for 15 and a half years of preparing for this week alone.
Right.
And I know you have as well. Lots of discussions you and I have had to try to prepare for what is now a whole different level of what we're seeing coming in the next, year to year and a half.
Well,
So,
I have to just be a witness for you on that. I've told people this before, but I've heard you recount visionary experiences, and one particular scene you've described to me, which I've never heard you describe to anyone else, and especially publicly, which is so sobering. And when you describe the suffering of people and the cries of children, you remember telling me this one,
yeah. Do
and
you want to
there's,
share it? I think we
well,
can share a little bit of it. You
and
tell them. I can't, or I will sob my eyes out, and I won't get through the rest of this podcast.
well, you would do a better job. I'm a lousy storyteller, but I just remember one day you were telling me what you saw, and I think we were interviewing for your biography, and I was like, "Well, tell me some scenes of what you've seen." And you described this would be not the Wasatch Wakeup, but the big one that happens, I think, a year or so after the Wasatch Wakeup, where it's centered somewhere in the University of Utah area, or at least downtown Salt Lake. And you and others have described this enormous amount of water that comes up from the ground and comes down from the mountains and other places that just comes up, and everybody's surprised by the amount of water. Um, I You recounted so much water that in certain areas that people were literally swimming and trying to find things they could grasp to stay afloat. And you described a scene of it being at night, and I don't know what I'm seeing, but it's like something came to me, and I don't know if the moon is shining and shining a glimmer on the water, and it's dark, and there are still screams and babies and children crying, and anyway, there's great horror in that scene, and I guess I wanted to bring this up because I know that you don't enjoy the suffering, and I've seen your reaction and the soberness and emotion, and but it's the reality, it's the plan. It's this has been prophesied. This is where we are in latter days, and it's sobering, but it's where we are.
Thank you. The first time I actually saw that in vision, I was 16 years old.
Hmm.
I've been preparing for that for a long time so that I could deliver a message of warning. You guys, this is the wake up to the wake up. Please listen and spread this message. Put your fear aside, put your judgments aside, put your fear of people's judgments aside and get the word out, because time is short.
And it becometh every man who hath been warned to warn his neighbor. If you have a witness of these latter day events, if you know the tribulations are coming and on our doorstep, if you have a witness from the spirit of things Julie's testified of, or other warners and messengers, and you have been warned, then heaven is counting on you to warn your neighbor. And you may be the means of saving some lives.
Right. Saving lives, keeping children from being trafficked, keeping women, children, and men from being raped and tortured or captured. Unspeakable things. This is why I spend every day doing this work. Because I love you and I love the planet and I love our family, the whole human family. And I really don't care what people think if they think I'm crazy, because I know what I know and I know my job is, and so I'm grateful. It's very humbling that the Lord's given me this assignment, and I just want to do the best I can. Each of you have your missions, and when you feel that prompting to open your mouth, I hope that you will. Thank you, Eric. Okay, let's transition.
Julie, you have
a
a
little
mission.
bit.
You have a missionary out in the Philippines, and there's been a
I
lot of
do.
talk about missionary work these days. What can you tell us there?
Yeah. So we got a call. I hadn't heard anything from. He's in the Laog Philippines mission, and I had not heard anything from the mission president. He's been in the Philippines. He was 13-hour bus ride north of Manila in a small rural village with a Filipino Tagalog-speaking companion, and the only white guy around for miles and miles. He was an hour bus ride from the mission home, and to get to where he could email or call us, he has to go to a data center that's a half-hour bus ride or a little taxi service away. We received a phone call. So I hadn't heard anything from the MTC. From the mission president since he was in the MTC. But I had been talking to him every week on Sunday night, which is Monday morning their time. And he was doing fine, so I didn't worry about him. He was struggling with the language and all the normal things you'd expect from a new missionary, that doesn't have a flushing toilet and, can't drink the water unless it's bottled and things like that. Um, uh, so when my oldest was on his mission, he's in California, and I'm not the kind of mom. I feel strongly that my boys need to grow up and be men. And so in his whole 2 years in California, we talked to him, before they changed it to every week where you could call or holidays. We talked to him like anybody else on Mother's Day and Christmas. And the last 6 months or so of his mission, then they switched it so we could talk to him every week. And since he was doing fine, I never even had contact with his mission president. Well, so I was kind of going about the same way with this mission president. More concerns because what I saw coming in the world, and the visuals I had before he left on his mission were that he would be coming home early, that the virus would be coming. He and I had several conversations about it before he went into the field, and we cried about it. He cried about it. I said, Spencer, you're going to come home. And he said, Mom, it wouldn't surprise me if I come home early. And so he was getting messages from the Lord as well. And I confirmed it for him. I had permission to confirm it. I said, you will be, but you go out there and you serve for as long as the Lord wants you to serve and that you can serve. and you give it your best. And I said, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go. And my son followed the spirit and followed his heart, and he went, and he put his fear energy aside. And I'm just so proud of him that he did that.
Mm-hmm.
He's grown up. He was 3 when I had my first near-death experience. He's grown up watching adversarial attacks, and
Mm-hmm.
before he left on his mission, uh, all 3 of my kids were home. My boys were both home, and Jeff, and I had many priest blessings from all 3 of them, and sometimes just my 2 boys because of attacks. So, um, I'm just so grateful for my boys. But anyway, so he was prepared, but then when it happened, so coronavirus is going on. He didn't even get to the Philippines until 6 weeks ago. So coronavirus had already broken out in the Pacific, and they still sent him. At first, they weren't going to send him or delay it a week or 2 because of the volcano, and so there was a hold on that. Well, so he's isolated in this rural village, and Thursday night we get a phone call. The last time I could have talked to him would have been a week ago Sunday, but I was out of town doing GTRF trip and I had meetings, and so I didn't get to actually talk to him. My husband and my 2 kids did, but they reported that he was doing fine. So Thursday night of last week, we got a call late at night, and he said my mission president wanted us to call our parents for 15 minutes and let them know that we're safe. And he said we bought some groceries for a couple weeks or a month or however much he had, and we have some water. And I said, how much water do you have? And he said, we have 6 5-gallon jugs. So he had 30 gallons of water between the 2 of them. And I said, well, you need a gallon of water per person per day at a minimum. So those of you listening, if you don't have a gallon of water per person per day for at least 2 weeks in your house, that's the minimum you should be having. So I pushed it aside, and I said, okay, well, you seem like you're doing okay. And then when he told me that the buses were going to be closed down on Friday, so here it is late Thursday night, and the next day they're shutting down all the public transportation, I knew he would be stranded. So at this point, I went to my email to see if I could get a hold of the mission president, either email or call. And all of my emails had been messed with, including there was no trace from the MTC or from the Philippine MTC or from his mission president. And then I had a sister that was kind enough that without me even asking, she tracked down the mission president's phone number. And so I called him. By the time I got that information, I had been working through that energy all day Saturday with what I saw coming, and and so it was a test of faith for me too, right? We all go through these things. And then on Sunday, and he told me they were going to be quarantined. They were quarantined, and he didn't know when he'd talk to us next, till at least April. And I said, when in April? And he said, we don't know. That's all. That's all. Just April. So then on Sunday, I called the mission president, and I just explained a little bit of what I was concerned about, and he explained to me that they had switched email systems at church headquarters, and he had been notified that week that he wouldn't be able to email anybody, which is why we hadn't heard anything. He apparently didn't have access to be able to email anybody. So he says, well, they can't move out of the province, but they can still proselyte. They're not quarantined. He's getting some fake news from the Filipino people. The people in that rural area don't really listen to real news. And so he kind of calmed me down a little bit. And then I just kept having these visuals that Spencer's coming home, and I couldn't shake it. Then that night, Spencer called, the mission president called Spencer, and then Spencer called us, and so things were fine there, and we had a good talk. Was it yesterday morning? I can't remember now. Was it yesterday morning we got that email, Eric, that they were sending him home?
That's right.
Sorry, this is a long. I'm clearing energy. We got an email yesterday morning about 8:30 in the morning. It came through that the president of Philippines was quarantining everybody. They want all U.S. and foreigners out of the country, especially U.S. So basically, the church chartered 3 airplanes. We just found this out today. They chartered 3 airplanes for the Philippines for all U.S. missionaries and all the U.S. mission presidencies, and they were supposed to leave today to come back to the United States. They do not have travel plans set up for once they get them here. We were not told where in the United States they're going. And then we had the earthquake this morning in Salt Lake, so it won't be in Salt Lake. They'll send them somewhere else, and then we'll get him home sometime. I was told he'll be home, by Saturday.
That's
As Blue Star
amazing.
told me. So I haven't even told my husband that or my kids, but that's what I keep getting today. He'll be home by Saturday.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. I get to see my son. He's only been gone 4 months, and he's gone through a lot in 4 months. Um, and there are missionaries all over. My heart goes out to those that are stuck in certain countries. I have a niece. Ironically, my sister, who helped me get the information for my mission president, for Spencer's mission president, she then found out that her daughter was stuck in Peru. And so they're trying to get her out too now. So anyway, we've got thousands of missionaries, these young kids all over the planet that are being quarantined or can't leave. Some of the European missionaries were not able to get out, right? There's a lot going on the planet right now. I just want to send my love to those parents and grandparents and siblings who are struggling with this right now. Any kind of anger, fear, frustration that you might have regarding the fact that your young daughter or son is stranded in a country, and hopelessness and fear and helplessness and all these emotions that come up when one of your loved ones is being affected, and you have no power control to fix it.
Right.
So, wow, it looks like we're going to have a good energy session today. Thanks for bringing that up, Eric. I had some energy to clear out, and
Yeah.
apparently
Yeah.
other people do too. Okay, so that's what's been going on there, and we're still waiting to hear. I have a visual of him right now, and he is midair over the ocean. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
He's over the ocean somewhere, crossing. Okay, so I also have a son at BYU being affected, and lots of clients and lots of family, and my mom, cousins, all kinds of family members, extended family members that live in Utah, but specifically my son who is at BYU. They've stopped the classes there. They're doing online stuff. I just talked to him right before this. He's doing great because I bought him a bunch of food when I was in town a couple times ago, and then we sent him some money and he bought some more. But he said that it's boring there. They've shut all the facilities. BYU is encouraging them to come home. Quite frankly, there's nothing for him to do here. We're in a small town. He's got no friends out here. So I basically told him, do what you want. If you run out of food and water, then you're obviously going to need to come home. Or if they try to quarantine you there, you need to come home. I am going to Utah next week. I will be there the 22nd to 28th, and I'm not telling you where I'm going, but I am going to check in on my son, and I think that's important you guys know with what I see, what just happened with this earthquake here. I usually don't announce before I go that I'm going, especially someplace like Utah. So please just be sensitive to that. I will have security with me, so I'll be fine. But given the nature of what has just happened, I booked my trip 2 weeks ago based on some things I was told and shown from the other side of the veil. So I will be doing some relief work while I'm out there, and some other meetings that I had planned, working on book stuff and things like that. So
Very exciting. Yeah, exciting times. There was an interesting quote. Many of us have heard and read it, and I've blogged about it, and we covered it in a podcast. Missionaries Called Home. I can't remember what episode that was. Do you remember? 62 or something. Anyway, I don't remember. But
I don't remember. We just posted it on social media though, because one of my great friends who helps with social media sent that to me.
yeah,
I'd like to thank my team, my social media team. I don't get on social media, guys, because I got too much going on. But I wanted to thank those that post for me, those that are doing the memes, and those that are sending me the podcast. You guys know who you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
yeah, no kidding.
So,
Great. But anyway, this quote's from Brigham Young, and he described a day when the elders of Israel would be called home, that the message, right, of the gospel would cease to be preached for a time, and the Lord would continue to, or commence his own preaching, his own sermons. And of course, the Lord's sermons are natural disasters, upheavals of nature, and that sort of thing. So
right,
very interesting. I mean, I can't help but correlate
right.
that, and especially with the
And I
yeah,
feel like for those that are listening, you have to understand. I relate to this. This affects me very. And I think that's divine orchestration, that in my plan, the one who has been assigned to warn like this is elected as well, right? So that people know they're not alone in this.
Julie,
There's people that get it.
we just had a little technical glitch. Can you just restate that again?
I I want to send the message that people need to hear me when I say I can relate, that I have siblings, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, cousins, my mom, my son, all out in Utah. I've got close friends and family and clients out in Utah and Idaho, and all these places are being affected or will be affected. And I have a son who's been serving a foreign mission. Okay. So, and then my other son served in California with the Paradise Fires. When the Paradise Fires happened, that one of his favorite areas was Paradise, California. So this stuff affects me on a very personal level too. And there's a reason for that. Premortally, I asked to have some of these trials as well so that I could relate to those who were going through this. And then as that energy comes up, I can clear it in myself, and you guys, help clear it at the same time. And I think it's important people know that I'm not just talking about this from a distance, right? This is very personal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The thought I was just having was just with the trumpet, Moroni's trumpet coming down. Many people may just look at that as a crazy act of nature, but we know the trumpet is a symbol of the gospel message and shouting it abroad and spreading it abroad, which has
Yes.
which is a covenant of Ephraim to carry the message forth to all of the world and help gather in Israel. And can you see the symbolism and the imagery of the Lord letting that trumpet come down, saying that day is over? And and this is a very scriptural pattern. And very well described and prophesied of, although we don't discuss it much in the circles of the church, that there are two gathering phases. I'm going to switch to me here because I'm on the soapbox now, but there are two gathering phases that we never discuss. We always consider it as one when we talk about the gathering of Israel. And this is a friend of mine, Greg, and I are writing about this and researching this heavily right now, these two gathering phases, and we're going to reveal this to you guys here pretty soon. Those two gathering phases are interrupted by the days of tribulation, which we know to be a 7-year period separating those two. And there's a clear end to the gospel being carried to the world for a time. And it will resume, but when it resumes, it will resume in greater power than we've ever seen before. It's not going to be this trickle of people coming to the gospel like it's been for the last 200 years. It's going to be like a fire hose. And this is this is the pattern the scriptures shared. It's very exciting, and it's so.
It is exciting.
So again, I just can't.
Even though we have these awful things going on, right? It's exciting because there's so many good things that are going to happen too.
Right.
This is not the end of the world. This is the transition of the world and the transcendence of the world and the ascension of the world. That's what we're looking at. We're going into, we are in tribulations. We are in travail. When we see these birth pains, like earthquakes, tornadoes, tsunamis, invasions, right? There is a purpose to the suffering, just like when a woman has a baby and she has to get through transition and have that baby, and at the end of the day you have the beautiful baby.
Right. Much symbolism in that, what you just said.
so also one of my friends who helps me with the social media, and she and another lady helped find the quotes that I put either on my blog or books or podcasts, and then they put them in memes, and then we put them on social media. And one that she sent me today is a quote from I think it's podcast 41, but I can't remember because we've been working on so many different ones. But it's one on the symbolism of the trumpet and how it relates to the woman in travail and Revelations 12. So go look for that on social media. It's on Twitter, Facebook. You put it on the blog, right? Or you were going to?
It's the one that's called NDEs and Signs or something like that.
NDEs, Dates and Revelations or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember what it's titled. So it must have come out. We did, if it's number 41, it came out in the first year, probably, maybe the first year and a half.
Yep.
It was a while ago. Um, and 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 I talked about that trumpet because when I got that revelation, I had the vision of this earthquake again with the trumpet, uh, being destroyed like that. And so that's where that revelation came, is in regards to this earthquake where the trumpet would be destroyed like we're seeing happen today. And so it is significant. We've had several people, I've had dozens of people email or text today asking if there's significance to the trumpet. There absolutely is significance to that trumpet and Salt Lake Temple. And what's happened to Moroni, that is the Lord sending you a sign, and that is something that you should pay attention to. Go study the book of Revelations again, specifically Revelations 12 and books of Isaiah, and go into the books of Nephi. If you go into Second Nephi, because it's right in front of your faces. And like Eric said, Greg and Eric and I are working on a book. It's mostly Greg and Eric writing, and I'm editing it like we have the multiple probations book. That book is called The Church of the Firstborn. It will be done. I'm not going to tell you when, but it's going to be done soon. It's another big project. Eric, thank you. Greg, thank you so much for working on it. I've also been working with Greg and Eric on 3 other books you guys have heard me talk about for a long time. Those are longer. To give you an idea of the amount of work that Greg's doing and then Eric is helping to edit, the first book, I'm not going to give you the titles. The first book is 300 pages. The second book is about 500 pages. And the third book, we are several pages in. I don't know if it's 160 pages in or what, and we're nowhere close to being done with that yet. And some of what that is, or most of what it is, are revelations that I've had that I have not been able to share publicly yet. And so that's very exciting. That's a lot of information that we're going to get, and I just want to thank Greg publicly for his hard work and Eric for your hard work. So
thank you. Yeah,
anyway,
it's going to be great when those come out.
Yeah. A lot of projects moving. We're very busy with the Greater Tomorrow Relief Fund, very busy with the books, very busy with the podcast. It's all good things. These are all planned projects that I've seen coming for a long time. I am just so thankful to my team, my staff, all the energy classes. As of right now, I'm still planning on Phoenix. I told you guys that if we had at least 10 people come to the class, I would do the class. Now, I'm getting shifty energy on that, and that's because of agency. I see 2 different scenes. It would not surprise me if they do not allow us to hold the class for some reason, or flights are canceled. But for now, I ask every day, multiple times a day, if the Lord wants me to cancel, and I'm being told no, stay the course. I am not going to let the dark side win. They're going to have to force me to shut down.
Mm-hmm. Good plan.
So that's the update on Phoenix. I have a lot of people asking about Phoenix. That's March 18th. So here's the thing on Phoenix. If you want to sign up for Phoenix, we're actually going to do a lot of energy work on coronavirus and plagues that day. Lots and lots of energy. And we're going to do lots of energy on earthquake stuff and trauma energy related to that topic. The title is Search and Rescue, and so we're going to go into some of that related to human trafficking. So if you want to sign up, you can still do that. And what I'm going to do is, if for some reason they force us where we cannot do the class, then I'm not going to give refunds, but you can, because I have a no cancellation policy. So, and what I'm asking people to do is, if we can't do the class, then you can transfer that to another class, because we have Rexburg, we have Kansas City, we have England, we have another Rexburg, we have a Salt Lake City. So we have at least 5 more classes that you could transfer it to if it turns out that Phoenix can't happen.
Good
But
plan.
I was given those dates last September. And I also had the thought, maybe I was given those dates so that people wouldn't know what was coming in the spring. So we've got all kinds of plans. All right, Eric, what do you think?
Yeah.
Did we cover it?
I mean, I think so. There's a lot going on. I think there's a lot more to come. I do feel this is the beginning of things to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big earthquake, there's rumors about a 9 in Salt Lake, and they've already done this where they've already said that, that there's no more expected big earthquakes. Kate, I've been saying this for years, that they were going to do that. There is going to be a 9, if not a 9.5 or higher, but it's not going to happen this spring. Okay, so you don't need to worry about having that massive, huge one. But if you want to go back and listen to my podcast, then you might have a better idea of when that earthquake could come. I've already said it many times.
Right. Yep.
Anyway.
All right, Julie.
Eric, thank you.
Yeah, thank you too.
Thanks, everyone. I love you. Keep the faith. Just, this is a good time for you to be with your family. So,
yeah, good point.
If you're able to be with your family. If not, then find some good friends near you and hunker down. We're going to see isolation techniques, control techniques, and it's some of the dark agenda is to try to depress people, make them feel alone and isolated. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at the ulterior motive of why somebody would be doing something like Agenda 21.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't looked up Agenda 21, I suggest that you research it.
Yeah.
So anyway, Eric, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
My heart goes out to everyone. Love you. Thanks.